Welcome everybody to this week's version of Full Force. So this one is gonna be fun. We're not gonna be messing around, trying to learn the format, anything like that. This is an old format. We're going back to Return to Ravnica. This is purely for fun, and we're gonna try something that's probably not recommended. We had people vote on Twitter. We had the choices of 5 colors. We had the choices of Psychic Spiral, which is an uncommon that mills people. And we had Defenders, which we specifically are really looking for Axebane Guardian and Doorkeeper. Doorkeeper is the big one. Doorkeeper lets us tap 3 mana, and it's a 0/4 wall. You mill cards off the target opponent's library equal to the number of defenders you control. So we need to make defenders. Unfortunately, this pack has actual good cards, and not really anything that's good in defenders. I do want to be green, because you want to get Axebane Guardian, which is a 3 mana 0/3 wall that taps for mana equal to the number of defenders you control. So I'm going to take Krozda Monitor, even though it's really mediocre. I just need something like that. Psychic Spiral, I kind of hope wheels. So if we were going to make the Psychic Spiral deck, one of the things that you actually want to do, because you need to mill yourself to mill your opponent, which is a weird concept. But there's a card called Chronic Flooding that when a land becomes tapped, it's a land enchantment. So you enchant a specific land, and when that land becomes tapped, then it mills the top 3 cards of that owner's library into their graveyard. So you just mill yourself. You put a Chronic Flooding on one of your own lands so that you can keep tapping it till you have almost no cards, then you Psychic Spiral your opponent. Here, we want to take Gatecreeper Vine. I'll take a couple Guild Gates later. I'll definitely want some fixing. This is a deck that probably ends up in a bunch of colors, and Gatecreeper Vine is a defender, so obviously need it. Precinct Captain, by the way, is pretty sick. I mean, just it snowballs out of control really easily. It's something that you can block later, but there's some enchantments and stuff too that can pump it up. It's scary. Pretty good card, but obviously great Gatecreeper Vine. That's what we're going for. Now we have any other defenders. Nope. We do have Brush Strider, which is a decent attacker. We have Drudge Beetle, which I like a lot. There's this scavenge ability on it where you can exile it from the graveyard and put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to the card's power on target creature. Scavenge is a black-green ability. It's also on a Krozda Monitor here. And that's because it's a Golgari ability. So there's a bunch of different guilds. There's black-green, which is Golgari, blue-red, which is Izzet. There's white-green, which is Selesnya. Rakdos is also in this particular format, and there's a bunch that are left out and are in the next format. So when you actually go to Gatecrash, then you get things like Groll and Boros, and which is like red-green and red-white. I think we want the Void Wielder. Trestle Troll, I guess, is a defender, and actually it's a really... Yeah, I should take Trestle Troll. Trestle Troll's a really good card. It's hard to deal with because it regenerates, and it has reach, so it stops all the flyers. 4 toughness is really important. It stops a lot of different flyers. It's just a good card. I should have immediately hit Trestle Troll. I wasn't even thinking. So we have Seek the Horizon, in case I want to go a bunch of different colors. I mean, I'd prefer to be black, green, blue. I need blue for the Doorkeepers, which is going to be an important part of the deck. So that's kind of necessary. We should get Doorkeepers fairly easily too. Doorkeeper is a common, and most people don't really want the card. But I don't think I want to be like a bunch of other colors. I think that I just want to be those 3, which I already have Gatecreeper Vine, so I don't know that I want Seek the Horizon. I might just want Stonefair Crocodile. Card's not amazing by any means, but it's fine. Gains us life. It'll trade off for things, keep us alive a little bit. It's a stall tactic. Hussar Patrol is a really good card, by the way. There's Perilous Shadow, but I don't think I can play it. Like, I don't want to be white and blue. And my mana doesn't support it yet. Perilous Shadow is kind of neat. It's a nice card. Becomes a massive beater later in the game. Nothing great here. I mean, I could take a Azorius Guildgate, try and go more colors, and I can take, like, Hussar Patrols later if they're coming this late, but I'll take Perilous. Spawn of Rix Maudi is also actually pretty good. It's just a massive creature. 6/4 for 5 is pretty solid. Format has a lot of smaller creatures generally. Alright, we'll take Golgari Guildgate this time. Codex Shredder actually would be okay, because we do need to get the Doorkeepers, and we want to try and mill people. But Codex Shredder should wheel even. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, no, probably not. There's going to be one card left. It could be this. It could be Destroy the Evidence, because this is also just totally unplayable. Dispel's really bad. Street Sweeper's really bad. Codex Shredder might be here. Take the Guildgate, though. And, man, there's a lot of good Populate cards going around. So Populate is one of the other themes in this, and it's the Selesnya theme. What it is it gives you a second copy of a creature token you already have. So Group-Born Defenses makes all of your creatures indestructible and populates, which is actually really good. There's a lot of ways to make like 3/3 Centaur tokens, like this card. And then Rootborn Defenses, making your team indestructible and giving you another 3/3 is, I mean, obviously very solid for 3 mana. A 3 mana instant that gives you like a 3/3 and makes your team indestructible as a trick is pretty insane. Ooh, Drudge Beetle came back. That's good. Rakdos Guildgate's not the worst idea, but I'd rather have the Drudge Beetle at this point. Did I just... Wait, what? Where did this Dispel come from? How did that happen? Okay, well, that's very interesting. I'll take Grave Betrayal. We might be a really slow deck, so it's possible that I can have top end of Grave Betrayal. Card is really bad, just because it's too expensive. But, like, once you get there, it is a very powerful effect. It's just super clunky to get to that point. Because what it does is it steals your opponent's creatures when they die. So anytime an opponent's creature dies, you get a copy of it with a +1/+1 counter on it. So it comes back under your control. I'm going to take Psychic Spiral here. I might be able to get some Grisly Salvages, and then I can actually Psychic Spiral my opponent. So Grisly Salvage, you get to put the top 5 cards of your graveyard, of your library into your graveyard, and you get to choose like a creature or a land from them and put them into your hand. So, I mean, if we can do that kind of thing in the green-black and then splash the Psychic Spiral, that seems like a decent idea. Druid's Deliverance is another one of those populate cards. It's a fog effect that populates. Not something we're going to play in this one. We don't have anything for creature tokens yet. Alright, we wield Seek the Horizon like I wanted. Nice. So Seek is going to be good if we're splashing the blue, and we're not getting a lot of gates yet. Not any gates that are on color anyways. We need the, like I said, the black-green. I'm really annoyed about that Guildgate. I took it, and it took Dispel instead. Ooh, Chromatic Lantern. This card is sick. Gives us all colors. So suddenly our mana is just a lot better. There's nothing else here that's really interesting either. There's no Doorkeeper. There's no good green or black cards, really. Cremate stops all of the scavenge kind of abilities. So things like the Drudge Beetle, you can cremate them, which is nice, but I'm certainly not a card that you really need that much. Best case scenario sideboard, and I doubt I'd ever do that. I'll take the Lantern, however. Wow, Detention Sphere is sick. This card's really good. There's also Stab Wound. Stab Wound is fantastic. Just kills your opponent very, like, surprisingly quickly. They die faster than you would imagine. Puts them on a 10-turn clock immediately, and generally you have some other kind of damage, or you have dealt them damage in the past, so Stab Wound gets to be a pretty quick clock. There's a Selesnya Guildgate, but I'm not splashing white. There's no Doorkeepers. Take the Stab Wound. Where is our Doorkeeper? That's what we're looking for. We just need one. Sphere of Safety. Now that is a funny deck to build too. You can actually get a lot of enchantments, and then each Sphere of Safety says that creatures can't attack you or a planeswalker you control unless their controller plays X, where X is the number of enchantments. So if you have like 5 enchantments, they have to pay 5 mana for each creature attacking you. As you can understand, that gets really prohibitive very quickly. It's hard to deal with. Good white cards going around. Trostania's Judgment isn't amazing or anything, but it is one of the better cards here. Good red card in Bloodfray Giant. Card's just very large. Runewing is okay. I still want to be blue. Like, we're trying to force this deck. We're trying to get the defenders. All right, Axebane Guardian's good. And I actually have a fair number of defenders, even if I don't have the one that I really need, which is the Doorkeeper. Because we have double Trestle Troll and Gate Creeper Vine already. So, I mean, 4. Hopefully get a couple more. If we get Doorkeeper, at least one Doorkeeper, then obviously 5 is decent. Not amazing, but we'll work with it. Axebane Guardian lets us splash other colors too. Like, it'll help with the blue mana, since we didn't actually manage to get that Guildgate. And there we go. Our cute little homunculus. Look at that guy. He's got such big eye. But anyways, you can see into your very soul, and that's what he's going to do, hopefully, is just remove our opponents. Target player puts top X cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard, where X is the number of creatures with Defender. So that is the #1 card that we needed, and I'm very happy to pick it up. Another Psychic Spiral. I mean, I don't want to play against it either, because if we try and mill our opponent down to nothing, and they sideboard a Psychic Spiral against us. I'm not saying this is a likely scenario, but I don't want to have any chance of, you know, getting absolutely destroyed by our own mill strategy. Probably a good idea to just get rid of this. I could take a cancel, but I don't think I'm going to be able to play the double blue. Blue's already a bit of a splash color here for us. Treasured Find. This is essentially just a regrowth, so we can just take anything out of our graveyard and put it into our hand. And there's Towering Indrik, which blocks a lot of flyers and is maybe what I want. I do have 2 Trestle Trolls already, which are already pretty good at that. Good blockers. So Indrik or Treasured Find. I don't know how much we're milling ourselves. It doesn't seem like we are at all. I think that I'm going to take... I just want a 2-drop more than I want another 4. I guess Indrik is just a better card, though. I don't think we're really using our graveyard too much. And then I get Grizzly Salvage, which would be a reason to have Treasured Find. Golgari Charm can be good. A lot of the charms are really awesome because they have 3 modes, and if even one of them is useful, then the other 2 generally tend to be like sideboard type potential. And so if you have 1 useful mode and 2 sideboard modes, that suddenly becomes a very good card to main deck, because you're going to run into those options where you'd have wanted it sideboarded automatically, and you get to do that because it's got the flexibility. This one, though, I mean, all of the abilities are pretty hedged, so I like just taking the Grizzly Salvage. We have the option of using the Psychic Spiral strategy here as well. And I'm going to take Chronic Flooding. It looks like we might be fulfilling 2 of the full force requests that I had. So doing Psychic Spiral and Doorkeeper in the same deck, which seems really fun, honestly. Aerial Predation or a Stealer of Secrets. I don't think we're going to be attacking a lot. So kind of like the Aerial Predation just to lock down the air. Seems like a good idea. Electromancer, Urban Burgeoning. I could Urban Burgeoning so that we can Chronic Flooding faster. I'm not saying that these are good ideas. I'm just saying that these are ideas. I think that we'll Urban Burgeoning. There's nothing there that I care about. Catacomb Slug is a nice big blocker. Let's let the Slug Life choose us. And Axebane Stag. Good finisher, I guess, if we really need it. Big 6/7. We need some removal spells now. We don't really have anything. Some more Axebane Guardians, Doorkeepers, and some removal would be really good. Right now, all we have is Stab Wound. Yeah, just Stab Wound. Oof. Supreme Verdict is really good. Very scary for us, too, because we're going to have a bunch of creatures in play. Like, we have to build up a board position to be able to Doorkeeper. I can't take it, so I'm just going to try and have to avoid it. And remember that if I'm playing a deck that's white-blue, that I need to be worried about the Supreme Verdict. We have another Grizzly Salvage, an Assassin Strike. I did say that I needed removal, so that might be the pick. Azorius Justicar is a really good card as well, but I'm not going to be playing white. I think we just Assassin Strike. It's just worth noting as an aside that this card is actually kind of awesome. A lot of good cards in this pack. Annihilating Fire. Assassin Strike is really slow and kind of clunky. It's not the best removal spell, but when we don't have any, probably a good idea to take one. Well, no good defenders. I mean, a Trestle Troll is a good defender. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. But I really want the Guardians and the Doorkeepers so that we're getting more out of having the defenders. Right now, we're not getting a bunch of bonuses for them. Skymark Rock is really cool, by the way. This card's really tough to deal with. It looks good, and it's better than it looks. Like, so much better than it looks. Whenever it attacks, you can return a creature that your opponent controls with 2 toughness or less. So basically, that no 2 toughness flyers can ever block it, because you just bounce them to their hands. There's a lot of tokens in the set, things like Eyes in the Skies, where you make 1/1 birds, so you can just bounce their tokens and it just kills them. It just does a lot of stuff. It's a really good card. Trestle Troll is our pickup, though. And Deathrite Shaman. That might be worth $1 or $2. It's... I mean, it's probably not worth that much because it's banned. Do I take it anyways? Oh, never mind, there's Doorkeeper. Wow, I was going to say, I kind of like it just because we're milling our opponent. We can use some of the instants and sorceries that we're milling or, you know, lands, things like that. But I can't risk Doorkeeper not coming around. As much as I would like to do that strategy with Deathrite Shaman, and I actually think it's a good idea in this deck, we really just need the Doorkeeper. It just has to come in. I wish that we could find a Hover Guard barrier. There's a 0/6 wall. Or is this Hover Barrier? I think, sorry, it's just Hover Barrier. 0/6 Flying Wall. That's something that I'd really like. 3 mana, blue. Need some bigger walls. All of these have 4 toughness, which is good. Probably enough most of the time, but it won't always be. I'm worried about the times when it's not going to be enough. Take a Brush Strider. I really wish that we had that Golgari Guildgate again. Because we're playing a fair bit of blue now. I guess Brush Strider's fine. I don't need Stealer Secrets. Pithing Needle, I guess that does stop our Doorkeepers. We could hate it, but it's not a card that's particularly great. I'll just get rid of... I'll just take the Brush Strider here instead. Transguild Promenade, which does help a bit with the splashes. There is also Selesnya Charm, which is just absurd. This card should not be in this packs, though. This card's absolutely insane. It removes large creatures for just 2 mana. Exile target creature with power 5 or greater. Like, just kills it. Just straight up. So good. And then on top of that, all the other abilities are really, really relevant. Like, 2 mana for a 2/2 white creature with Vigilance. That's good. +2/+2 and Trample for 2 mana. That's also good. Every single mode on this one is awesome. This is... very arguably the best charm. It's so, so powerful. I'm tempted to just splash it, honestly. The problem is that I don't have enough fixing, so I kind of need the Promenade or like a Guildgate first. You know what? I'll just take the risk. I'll take it, and we'll see what happens. I don't even really like the Transguild Promenade because of the way that it comes into play tapped. It's just always mediocre that way. Oh, wow, a 3rd Doorkeeper. I was going to say that Golgari Longlegs is a pretty solid pickup here, because this card's just big, but 3rd Doorkeeper, now we're kind of cooking. This is looking pretty real. We can actually do this. I was worried about how many defenders we had before this, but now with another Doorkeeper, this might actually work. We may be able to kill some people with this. Let's take the Promenade now. If I can find a Guildgate, I will try and play that. God, I really am feeling punished by that Golgari Guildgate not coming in now. Another Aerial Predation. There's a Rubbleback Rhino, which is just kind of a nice blocker. Hard to deal with because it's hexproof. I already have an Aerial Predation in the sideboard. I probably don't need to bring in 2. Security Blockade is nice, but... it's also something that I'd have to splash for. And it's only really good when you can populate. It's fairly solid otherwise. Like, it's not the worst card, but definitely better in a populate deck. Take the Rebel back. I might play it here. I mean, we have things like Drudge Beetle to scavenge. And if we can scavenge onto the Rubbleback Rhino, it just blocks forever. Rakdos Charm. Avenging Arrow. Take the Grim Roustabout. This thing can block for a long time. I don't think I care about any others. I Avenging Arrow is not a card that I care about. Like, this is a pretty solid removal spell. It's not amazing by any means, but it's something that you just kind of have to run a fair bit because you need to fill in removal. And for against us, it does nothing because we're not ever attacking our opponent. Like, our whole deck is built around all of these defenders, so it's going to be a totally dead card if an opponent wants to play it. I'd rather have them try. Take the Dead Reveler here. I'd have loved one more Axebane Guardian. Axebane Guardian number 2 would have been really solid. But it's a very high pick for a lot of decks, because even if it doesn't have any other defenders, like, just making any color of mana is pretty awesome. And a 0-3, like, it blocks a fair bit of stuff if they're trying to be aggressive early. Take that Golgari Key Rune. And probably cutting Dead Reveler, probably cutting Grizzly Salvage. And then this is looking like what the deck will be. Maybe cut the Grave Betrayal, though. I don't know what I'll put in instead of it. I already have a Terrace Worm, do I? No, I don't. Terrace Worm can actually be pretty good. You can get it into your graveyard and then just scavenge it out onto things. Like, it's 10 power, essentially. It costs 14 mana to access all of that, but this is a slower format. You can do that sometimes. I don't think I have enough removal to really play Grave Betrayal, and we're basically just never getting into combat with our opponents because all of our creatures are defensive. What do I want instead, then? I need some way to either end the game on the top end is something that I'd want, or just kind of delay. Maybe the Grizzly Salvage should keep back in. I mean, I can use it to dig down to things like Doorkeeper. Not the worst idea. Alright. That's probably correct. And we have Chromatic Lantern, Golgari Key Rune, Axebane Guardian, and Gatecreeper Vine is fixing. The Transguild Promenade. I'm not 100% certain that I want to play this. It takes a lot of work to get this online. It doesn't seem like much to have to tap another land and have this one come into play tapped, but that's a surprisingly steep cost. It's really, really clunky. So I'm not 100% sold that we need it. Like I'm going to put it in the side and I'll think about it. Like, we'll see what we have for sources. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sources. That's way too many for blue. Something like... I need to get blue online for those Doorkeepers, though. Maybe 6 is okay, so I can cut at least 1. This is 8, 9, 10, etc., etc. So that's more... I think that's enough. 6, 7, 8... You know, this seems fine. I don't think I want the Transguild Promenade. Might go one more green source, just because that's where all of our fixing is. Gatecreeper, Axebane, etc. So, even though we already have, like, 10 just counting the forests and the Chromatic Lantern Key Rune, not a bad idea to have a little bit extra. And this is 6 blue sources still. That should be enough, even though we want Doorkeeper fairly early. I don't think we need 7 sources. Yeah, this seems fine. Alright, we'll jam this, and we're good to go. I'm hoping that we can actually get to the finals with this, because that would be so much fun. This deck looks totally ridiculous. I've never drafted a deck like this, I don't think, in Return to Ravnica. I've won with Doorkeepers, but I've only put in, like... It's in decks where I've been, say, like, white-green, and I just happened to have 2 or 3 Axebane Guardians to ramp. And then in a long, slow matchup, I put in a Doorkeeper because I needed to, like, stall the game out. I just started milling my opponent and eventually got there. But that's not, like, a common thing that you do. You don't normally build your deck around it. This deck looks like a lot of fun, so I will see you everybody for round 1, and fingers crossed, we're going to crush this one. Little worried about blocking with Doorkeeper here. Hope they don't have a way to pump through it. Thinking they were just testing to see. Yeah, okay. That's good to know. Now we just Trestle Troll, pass, and start milling with Doorkeeper.